Hi, and welcome.
Hello.
So today we're doing a deep dive into something pretty significant that seems to be making waves in the UK economy.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, it's the substantial increase in investment that's flowing in from India. We're digging into this based on the sources you shared with us, actually.
And they paint a very clear picture, I have to say.
They really do. And to help us sort of unpack the numbers, understand the trends, and, what it all means, we've got our expert guide with us.
Happy to be here. It's a trend that's becoming pretty hard to ignore, and the material really does show how impactful it is.
Okay, great. Let's jump right in then. So, Indian investment in the UK right now.
Yep.
What are the headline numbers? What kind of scale are we actually looking at today?
Well, the numbers are impressive, and they're growing. As of 2024, the sources show 971 Indian-owned companies actively operating right here in the UK.
971. Wow.
Yeah, and that's noticeably up from 954 just the year before. So there's clear growth there.
Okay. And what does that mean in terms of, say, jobs or turnover?
Well, combined, these businesses are really significant employers. We're talking over 118,000 jobs across the country.
118,000.
Okay, and the combined turnover is huge, exceeding 68 billion pounds annually. So this isn't, marginal stuff. It's a major part of the economic landscape.
68 billion turnover, over 118,000 jobs.
Wow.
Those are serious figures.
Right. Where are these companies focusing? Which sectors are really attracting this investment?
It's quite broad, actually, but there are definite hotspots. Key areas showing up consistently are things like technology, telecoms, also engineering, manufacturing, and hospitality, too.
Okay.
But what's really interesting in the sources is where the fastest growth is happening. It seems over a quarter, about 27% of the fastest growing Indian firms here are in tech and telecoms.
Tech and telecoms, right. That makes sense.
Yeah, and right behind that, about 20% are in engineering and manufacturing. It sort of suggests a strategic alignment, where India's growing strengths meet UK opportunities. That focus on tech and manufacturing, it does seem to align with the UK's own strategic aims. And speaking of strategy, we can't really talk about this without mentioning the UK-India Free Trade Agreement, can we? How big a factor is that proving to be?
Oh, absolutely. The FTA is it's a critical piece of this puzzle, a major catalyst, really. It was finalized back in May 2025, and its goals are pretty ambitious.
Ambitious how?
Well, the stated aim is to boost bilateral trade by something like 25.5 billion every year and add about 4.8 billion annually to the UK's GDP. It provides a clear signal, a framework for deeper economic ties.
Okay, 25.5 billion boost to trade, 4.8 billion to GDP. How does it actually do that? What are the nuts and bolts making trade and investment easier?
Well, the main thing is reducing barriers, specifically tariffs. So the agreement means India is cutting or even getting rid of tariffs on, I think it's 90% of UK export product lines.
90%, like what kind of products?
Things the UK sells a lot of to India or wants to sell more of, like Scotch whiskey is a big one, automotive parts, medical devices. Those taxes at the Indian border come down, making UK goods more competitive there.
Right, that makes sense.
And the other way around.
Yep. The UK is removing tariffs on almost all 99% of Indian goods coming this way. So think clothing, footwear, processed foods, jewelry, major Indian exports. Taking away those costs makes trade flow much easier.
And presumably encourages investment linked to that trade.
Exactly. It greases the wheels significantly.
Got it. Now, is this investment story mainly a London thing? Because often, foreign investment tends to concentrate there. Or is it spreading out more? It's a good question. London is definitely a huge beneficiary, no doubt.
Yeah.
The sources mentioned 77 Indian companies are setting up shop there in just the last 3 years. India is actually the top source of FDI for the city.
Top source, okay.
Yeah, and you see examples like Emphasis expanding its London operations significantly. And this is important. It's definitely not just a London story.
Oh, where else?
We're seeing a really substantial presence, a big impact in the Midlands and up in the north of England, too.
Yeah.
Especially in those sectors we mentioned, manufacturing, automotive.
Right. Any specific examples?
Well, the obvious one cited is Tata Motors, particularly through Jaguar Land Rover. Their big facilities in the Midlands are a prime example of that regional investment leveraging existing industrial strengths.
That's really crucial context then. It's a genuinely nationwide trend impacting different regions. So, looking ahead, does this growth look like it's going to continue? What's the outlook?
All the signs point towards continued growth, really. That FTA framework provides a solid foundation for long-term engagement. And beyond the current strong areas, the sources suggest potential future hotspots, too.
Like what?
Things like renewable energy, fintech, financial technology, and pharmaceuticals look promising. These are areas where both countries have, strategic interests and growing capabilities.
Okay.
And you see the UK's focus on innovation kind of pairing nicely with India's really fast-growing tech and R&D scene. It creates good conditions for future investment.
So if we boil it down, the main takeaway from the sources you brought us is pretty clear. Indian investment is a major and growing force in the UK economy. It's spread across different sectors, different
A place
regions.
diverse and deepening.
And that recent free trade agreement is really adding fuel to the fire, boosting the impact and the potential.
That sums it up well. It's a very dynamic partnership.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, our listener, to maybe mull over. As you see this UK-India economic relationship getting stronger, how might it reshape the specific industries you work in or care about? And maybe more broadly, what could this mean for the UK's place in the global economy in the next few years?
Good questions to consider.
Indeed. Well, thank you for sharing those sources and for digging deep with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you. Good.